Hello. Well, so today on this particular episode of Sitecore Tech Talks, we have Nelson, Joel, Raj. Nelson works in the Horizontal Digital Dubai office. He has overall 16 years of industry experience, and from last 12 or 13 years, he is working on Sitecore, and currently he is working as a Sitecore architect in our Dubai office. So first of all, Nelson, welcome to Sitecore Tech Talks.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, Nelson is an XM Cloud expert. He has worked on a couple of XM Cloud projects, and today we'll be discussing about the API layer, which Sitecore Experience Edge provides, and what all we can do with it. But our main focus is going to be on the Sitecore Experience Edge admin API. So let's get started. So Nelson, let's start with the basic question. What is Sitecore Experience Edge admin API?
Okay. So we know what is Experience Edge, right? So it's a tenant, Experience Edge tenant, basically where we publishing content from Sitecore. So that content will be anyone in the world can access stuff through provide omni-channel experience, right? So, but there is a problem, right? If there is any problem comes, like you actually publish the content, right? And the content is not displaying to the end user, okay? So how to troubleshoot that one, right? So we need to know somewhere, because if it is a Sitecore, normal Sitecore application, it's a content delivery instance. We know that this something is published from master database to web database. We can figure it out, okay, why it is not coming. Say for an example, we are using Solar Index or something, right? We will be able to know whether this index is already there or not.
Yeah.
But the Experience Edge, we don't have any control, right? We're not able to see the data there, okay, which is behind our scenes, right? So we don't have any other option. Only thing we able to use through GraphQL, right? With the help of GraphQL, we can query the data. The data is not coming up. Then see, okay, I published the content, but data is not coming up. So I need to troubleshoot that one. So that is where Sitecore provides some kind of APIs,
Right.
which will help us to do this kind of actions. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think I love the name, admin API, because when we with XM Cloud, we have this admin API versus with our usual XPs and XMs, we used to have the admin folder where we used to have, let's say, the cache.aspx.
Yes.
So this somehow from a terminology standpoint matches that. A good start, I believe. Admin API, all the admin related tasks, maybe you do not know why it's not coming, stuff like that. All right, so in that case, is there any authentication layer, or I'm sure there should
Yes,
be, because
yeah.
not every user should be able to access this.
Yeah.
Right.
So see this, as we just mentioned, right? It's an API, right? In order to communicate through the API, definitely there should be an authentication.
Right.
So Sitecore is actually providing an authentication to communicate with the Experience Edge. Okay. In order to do that, we should have a proper access to the XM Cloud organization. Okay.
Right.
So by default, if you are given an invite to the XM Cloud organization, and if you have access to the project and environments, so you can be able to create this authentication token. Okay, there is multiple ways to create the authentication token from the Cloud portal as well as through the CLI. Okay, there is two options. Okay,
Yeah.
so through the this is the Cloud portal. Okay, so once we go to the environment, okay, under the environment we have we have under the deployment Cloud portal, we have called credentials as a separate tab. Okay.
Yes.
Click on the tab, credential tab, where you can see like two options. Okay, either we can create for the organization level or for the environmental level. Okay, so the token basically. So if you create under the organization level, that means you will be having access to everything. Like with that help of token, you can do deployments. With the help of the same token, you can manage Experience Edge, everything. Okay, but if you want to access the Experience Edge related APIs, you can create for the Experience Edge related token alone. Okay, so we have two options available. This is in terms of Cloud portal. Similar way.
So let me just stop you there.
Yeah.
So we can create two types of tokens.
Yes.
One is at an organization level,
Yeah.
and one is at an environment level.
Correct.
Right. So, but these particular tokens that we are creating, do we get any way of selecting like for what purpose I'm creating this token?
Oh, basically, like you can just put a comments over there, like you name and description, something like that you can put.
Right.
So by default, like if you try to communicate without this token, see by default there is a scope assigned to it. Like you don't have a read write option to do communication with the admin APIs. Okay.
Right.
So using this token only, this token will provide you an access token. That access token you will be using it for doing all kind of actions. So that's the only thing, but we doesn't have any way to do this for this particular thing. We can't do that. So basically, it's a description. Based on the description, user need to use this one.
And which type of user, like I know in XM Cloud we generally have 3 type of users.
Yes.
One is an organization owner,
admin.
I think one is the owner, right?
Organization owner, admin and user. Yeah.
So even a user can create an.
So basically, it should be an administrator or a owner level.
Yeah,
user doesn't have an access to do that. Basically, yeah.
Got it. So it should either be an organization owner or an admin to create this kind of credentials.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. All right. And when we talk of this authentication, let's say for example, I'm having an environment. Let's say I'm having dev, UAT in production, and I decided to create just one token at organization level. So technically what it means is just my URL of that experience age will be different, but the same token will be utilized.
So the URL will never gonna change. Experience age is always a common URL, right? Experience age is a common URL, but the token will be different for you. So, but here we are not creating for, here the URL for authentication is always a common. Like auth.sitecore cloud something, it will come and you will be generating the token. Okay, you will be having the client ID and client secret. You will be using the client secret value for generating the token. Okay, so again, where we having a specific thing. Okay, I need to show whether which environment I can create, that you can specify. Like say for an example, I'm going to create a token only for production environment, only the token for development environment, that we can specify
while creating the token. So then the location where this token is created, it's
it's under the portal itself, like under the, as I told you, credentials, the tab itself, it will have that.
So while creating that credential, you select for which environment it
exactly
is. And I mean, I'm sure as a best practice, of course, we want to have 3 different tokens, one for dev, UAT and production.
Correct.
We do not want to utilize the same, otherwise
correct. That's where you need to specify some proper description, because that doesn't show this is for production or something, right? So we need to put proper description, and where there is a proper drop down will be there, you can select it for which environment you want to create this token.
Right.
So see this token, as if I say for an example, if you are using the CI/CD pipeline for doing the deployment, right, production deployment or something, right? Again, the same place you want to create a token, deployment token again.
Right. Oh yes.
So this is the common place where you will creating all kind of tokens. So this is something you need to do a segregation, like this is for experience age, or this is for authoring, or this is for deployment, anything.
So can I say from kind of a generalizing or summarizing standpoint that any token that needs to be created generally goes in the credentials section of portal.
Correct.
And of course we will have different types of APIs. It could either be admin API, it could either be deployment API, so on and so forth, and all those tokens are created at that location. Well, in that case, let's continue the conversation around admin API itself for now. What are the different operations that can be managed using the admin API?
See, the first thing I say, the very first topic I told you, like, is the catch, right? So say for an example, like I said, the content is not coming up. So because the content is not coming up, because it's serving the old content, right? So that means like your latest published content is not displaying that.
Caching
so
issue.
I need to, it's a caching issue. So obviously I need to do the cache clear, right? Say in Sitecore I can do the cache clear using cache.aspx, but which is not possible here, right? So Sitecore provided this one API. Using that one, we can do the cache clearing entire tenant level, not on the environment level. This is on the tenant level only.
Right.
Okay. So that means like many sites will be available, right? Everything will be cleared.
Right.
So we need to be careful about that.
Yes. So if it is multi-site solution, we have to be very careful.
Very careful
because
about
then that's what I was currently thinking, that if it is tenant level, it will be pretty bad a situation.
Correct.
But then what if I'm having a caching issue in one site and I just want to clear a cache of one site? Do we not have any such?
As of now, like we don't have that kind of API, but we have only at the cache clear at tenant level only.
All right. Well, I think you just touched upon and called out a word called deployment API. Is it okay to just discuss a little bit?
See, deployment API again. We have REST APIs for all kind of operations. Like say for an example, I'm creating the projects, environment. Say, in order to set up the XM Cloud instance, right? I will be creating environment projects, right? So for that also, we can use these APIs to do this. For example, I need to connect to GitHub repository. I need to connect to the hosting environment, right? Again, the same API will be used. Sitecore provided a big suite of Swagger URLs to us.
Right.
Using that one, we can still use all kind of functionality which we can able to do using Cloud Portal itself.
Okay.
Okay, something we can able to do it.
And this admin API, I understand, it's kind of connecting with your experience edge and all. But what is the layer in which, like, does it use some kind of webhook or something to communicate?
Yeah, so Webhook is totally a different thing here. Basically, Webhook, say for an example, again, as I told now, here right now, if I want to clear a cache, I'm hitting the endpoint which clears it directly in Experience Edge. Okay, say for an example, I need to know what is happening in Experience Edge. Okay,
Right.
say I publish some content in Sitecore, right?
Right.
The content has been stored in Experience Edge. After successful publishing, I need to be notified. Okay, so which is not possible right now, right? So I don't know whether the site content is published or not. So I can enable a webhook, which is similar to like a kind of a notification, like sending emails or something, right?
True.
So using this one, again, the admin API provides us a webhook API as well. So using that webhook API, we can generate, first of all, we need to create our endpoint. With that endpoint, we can configure it in the Postman. Basically, we don't have a separate portal for this one, to configure this one. So it's purely REST APIs. Okay. So through the REST API, in the body, we can configure what is the URL, what is the parameters which need to be passed. Say for example, like it will give you the data. Like say I have an API which need to be consumed from that portal. Okay, because that webhook Experience Edge is our calling end, right?
Right.
We are at the receiving end.
We are the receiving end.
So in order to hit my API, I need some parameters to be body, header, or something, which I can configure in that one, and I can add it in the Experience Edge. Whenever any action happens, my webhook will be triggered and my code will be hit, and I can do all the processing on top of it.
All right. I think architecturally I'm now able to understand how it could be, but I have a separate question. How is this webhook which you're talking about different from the webhooks that we have in XM Cloud?
Okay, XM Cloud webhook is something like basically, like in XM Cloud, we have different events. Okay, can be triggered. Okay, so I have publishing event, save event, and there is a lot of events, right, available. So every even you have item save event as well, right? Which is not even published yet. Okay,
Totally.
So any event happens when we configure a webhook in Sitecore XM Cloud, that will be triggered. Okay, but here is something different. We are using unpublished completion, right? Once the data has been published to the Experience Edge, when Experience Edge acknowledges it, hey, I got your data.
Yeah.
So then you do the processing here. So that is where is a slight difference over here.
So I think it is pretty similar to, we used to have the publish end and publish end remote events.
Exactly. Yeah. The previous monolithic experience. Exactly. Yeah.
So I believe it is similar to that, and but is like, of course we cannot know the how it is built because it technically is a black box for us, these webhooks. But overall, I feel there is I think the difference is from a conceptual level where these APIs reside.
Yeah. So there is one point I just want to highlight here. Okay, in XM Cloud, in order to trigger a webhook, we can create rules as well, right? So for certain template, if it is published, a certain template is used, trigger this webhook, which is not possible in Experience Edge. Basically, like
you don't have any layer to.
Yeah, you see all the same template is published over there, but XM Edge doesn't know, like on this template you need to trigger this or no. Any item is published, it will always trigger. But so what I'm trying to say, rules is not possible in Edge, but you can configure a lot of rules in XM Cloud. That is also the main difference. I actually spoke with the Sitecore person on this one, so it's in the feature request. So soon they will be providing this feature in upcoming
releases.
Experience Edge releases. Hope so.
Yeah. Well, that was my next question. So, for example, I want to modify some of the API or add any of my own APIs. Is that possible right now with Experience Edge API? No.
So basically, again, this is something like if you configured with one API, you can change that API to a different API. Say, for example, I have one endpoint which I configured mistakenly. Okay. Now, after any publishing happens, that endpoint is hit, right? But it's not necessary for me, which is a wrong API. Okay, so unfortunately, I need to delete it or I need to update it to a different valid API, right? So which is actually possible using this admin API. We actually using an update webhooks.
Okay.
It's a method, a REST endpoint, which we can use it. We can update whatever you want. We can update the body parameter. We can update the URLs. Everything we can it is possible. So also there is an option like we can see all the webhooks which we created. So if an example, I have created webhook for different purposes, right? So not only one webhook I created, like I created a webhook for some kind of cache clearing, not for experience edge cache clearing. Say for an example, this is a scenario which we happened for us. So we have an application where we actually doing a caching internally in our .NET application, okay? But our content is actually coming from XM Cloud. Okay, but we are caching our content in our application. Take an example, right? So I need to clear a cache whenever the publishing happens in XM Edge, right?
Right.
So that way we triggering in a webhook which will hit our endpoint. Internally we'll clear in the cache. So that means we are actually getting always the latest content. So such scenario is also possible using this webhook. So I can see all kind of webhook which is created using list webhook API as well.
Oh, list webhook. Okay.
So it will list all the webhooks.
So I think this is a nice way of managing the webhooks. Like,
yes. Yeah.
Okay. So that was actually going to be the next one, because if, for example, I have created a number of webhooks and I want to know which all webhooks I have created as a team, it can be looked at it that way. Now, is this experience edge, because the URL and things is going to be kind of specific to each environment, right? If I'm not wrong.
No. The experience edge is URL is common. Is always be the same.
So if I create a webhook and if I put it there, it can be utilized by any environment. So it is environment agnostic.
Okay. So here, no. Basically, like you need to specify, because you are creating a token, right?
Yeah.
The token which is created for the particular environment, right? So if you create a webhook, that is related to the particular environment only, not for other environments.
Right. So if I have is there any way in which my main question is about these webhooks. Let's say I've created 4 or 5 new webhooks to do some activity. All right. So that activity that I'm currently doing on, let's say I'm just doing it for dev environment.
Yes.
But I also want to do that on UAT and production. What will be the way?
In that case, like you need to create. So say for example, you want to create a similar kind of webhooks. So you need to just generate a token. And then apply the same thing.
Okay.
Apply the same, create the webhooks in that environment, because this environment is entirely isolated, that environment is entirely isolated. That is how XM Cloud works basically. Right. So what are the configuration you're putting in one environment will not apply well to the other environment. So everything is in an isolated way.
Isolated.
So we left it. So say for example, there's a deployment issue happens in one environment, right? We should not break the other environment.
Absolutely.
So that is the reason we actually isolated everything.
Right. Any last moment thoughts specific to admin API?
So there is one thing I just want to tell you, like apart from admin API, we also having authoring management API as well, right? This is nothing to do with experience yet. Basically, if you want to do any maintenance activities in XM Cloud, so right now what we are doing like adding creation of content, searching and everything through XM Cloud environment only, right? So there is an authoring management thing is available. Again, same thing, we need to create a token from there itself, okay? Yeah. And using that one, I can create an item on the fly. I can manage, I can do the indexing, I can do publishing. I can see all kind of activities from that API as well.
So kind of what we used to do with kind of like the item web API or something is what is currently.
No, item web API, yeah, exactly. But here I can do publishing, indexing, that kind of operation also I can do. So like not like just content related things, management related things also I can use with the help of this authoring management maintenance API as well, authoring API.
Well, this is great knowledge on admin API, and I believe the community members will also be happy to know a little bit more about it. So thank you, Nelson, for your time, and thank you for sharing your knowledge on experience
Thanks
edge
for inviting. Yeah, thank you for
admin API. Additionally, I would also like to thank Alok Kadudeshmukh and Harsh Mithapra, without whom this episode would not have become possible. Thank you guys for helping us record this episode.